All right, so now let's talk about the gas tube. Now, a couple things here. First of all, I like that they give you a new roll pin, so I don't have to reuse the one that I pulled out. And of course, they give you the 2 set screws. So before I do anything with this, I just want to kind of take a look at it and understand the configuration. What I want to know is where is the hole for the gas to align with the port in the barrel? Where does that align with these 2 holes for the set screws? Normally, the gas port will align with one of the set screw holes, which means it's easier to install. You don't have to worry about sort of guessing offsets and things like that, or predicting offsets. You can see exactly what's going on. The other thing is I want to make sure that when the gas tube is installed properly, that the port holes line up in there, and you have to look through there to really see it. So hopefully I can show this to you. So the first test we'll do is I'll go ahead and push this in to where the hole lines up for the roll pin. And then I want to look in there and see. Let me give you some more light here. So I can see that hole lining up as I line up that roll pin hole. I can see that it's lined up inside there. If you can't see it, one thing you can do is put like a little drill bit in there, the back side of it. So it's locked in there because it's going through the hole. So that reminds me to tell you, basically the other thing I'm looking for is the alignment of that gas tube to that that one hole, which it's dead centered on there, which means I can slip this on and then check the alignment and know that on the inside the hole is going to be where this is. So one of the questions I need to ask is, am I pressing this all the way up against the shoulder, or do I need to leave a little bit of a space? And you can see here when it's pressed all the way up against the shoulder, that hole on the barrel lines up in there, which means when I rotate it the right way, so I basically installed it upside down so I could see that. When I rotate it the right way, I know that the gas port hole is going to be lined up because it's the same offset as this hole. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so now that we know that pushing this against the shoulder is going to give us perfect alignment front to rear, we need to figure out the alignment left to right. And there's several ways to do this, eyeballing it or otherwise. I will say that NSZ85 has done some pretty useful tutorials on using a business card to mark. So basically what I'm looking for is the center of this hole, and I want to extend that out to the shoulder. Just bear with me here. And most of this is just going to be, for me, eyeballing, and I want that line on the other side of the shoulder, just like that. Okay, so that's my mark right there. And then on this, I'm basically going to draw a line on the face. I'm not really using the business card other than to give my eye something straight to look at. So there you go, you can see that. And then hopefully you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is align the two. And that might be hard for you to see on camera, but basically the line on the face of that that bisects that hole is lined up with the line on the barrel. But more importantly, I can also look down and sight down over the top of that visually and see the hole is directly over that mark. So that's the the hole for the gas tube, and that'll be centered. Once I feel pretty confident that I've got that where I want it, so now I'm just holding it in place as I tighten down one of these set screws. All right, let's look at it from this perspective, looking down the flat top, and then basically comparing how this looks with the very tip of the barrel. I mean, honestly, I think doing it by eye is just as or more accurate as doing it with a pencil. So I'm happy with that. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure these are good and tight. Good and tight. Now, a lot of people are going to stop right here and maybe pull them off and thread lock them and then lock it into place. The other way to do it is to dimple the barrel, and that's where you take a jig, a barrel dimple jig, or you do it by hand and you drill little divots, dimples, inside the barrel where these set screws are going, and that will sort of keep them from moving out of position. Once you tighten them down, they'll sort of lock into their hole. So by tightening those down, what I've done is I've etched in little circles on the bottom of the barrel. I'll pull this out of the vise. All right, so now I loosen these up and we can slide it out of the way, and you can see where there's marks where those screws, those set screws, dug in to the barrel. That's where I want to put the dimples. Unfortunately, I have a slot here for a pin for my factory site. The other one's over here. But this one's going to be in the way of my dimple, so I'm going to ignore that one. I'm not going to try and do that. I doubt I will have a great success without a jig doing that one. This one, though, I feel pretty comfortable I can do by hand without a jig, and then I'll use that as sort of my indexing dimple that will keep this thing from rotating. So now you'll have the shoulder holding the alignment towards the rear, and then the dimple will keep it from rotating because that set screw right there is going to set inside that dimple a little bit. So let's dimple that guy. All right, I'm going to use a center punch, and I'm going to get this dead center. Otherwise it would be an off-center punch. Haha. Dad jokes. Now this is probably the thing you really want to take your time on. Where you put that center punch is sort of where everything else is going to go. So I apologize if it doesn't make for great video. Nailed it. Center punched in that little spot. Now I'm going to take a fairly small drill bit. All right, I'm going to move you out of the way. Sorry. It's more important to me that I get this right. Actually, I kind of like it on this table right here. So I'm just going nice and slow. And I'm literally making a dimple. Take a look at that. All right. Now I'm going to go a little bit bigger, because what I'd like to have is a dimple that is the size of this set screw. So in order to find out what size set screw this is, let's see here. I got this guy here. I think I want 1164. Now normally most people are going to probably do 2 of these divots. So basically what I'm just looking for is enough for the tip of this to sort of grab, and you can already see how it sets in place there. So that's as far as I'm going to run it. I think that there is just perfect. Again, if this slot wasn't in the way, I would do the same thing to that one, but yeah, I'm just gonna do the one. Alrighty. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull out my other set screw, set that aside, and then now what I need to do is deal with putting the gas tube into the gas block. Alright, so for this, it's pretty easy. Just there's a hole on one side. You just want to make sure that hole is pointing down into the gas block, and then after that you're just going to line your pinhole for the roll pin. Alright, so sometimes the trick to these is to crimp the end that you're inserting in just a little bit. All right, so there we go. When I can get it to sort of go in and stick, I've got it crimped enough that I feel like I can easily get it started. So now, remembering which side I crimped, I can feel it in there. I should be able get it to start. And quite frankly, and there we go, pressed into place. Hopefully you got that on camera because I'm not redoing it. But yeah, that is how you install your gas tube into the gas block. All right, so now let's put this bad boy back into the vise. This way. And just to show you how this is going to go now, that's going to slip just like that. Perfect. But what I want to do is get the set screws, and I want to put some thread locker on there. All right, so I don't use red thread locker for a lot of things, but I am going to use red 271 on this because I want these to stay in place. And the red 71 can handle quite a bit of heat. All right, clearly way more than what's needed, but that's what I get for getting down to the very end of the tube here. And line the gas tube up, push it all the way to the shoulder. All right, so as I tighten this down, I'm doing the one that I made the divot for first. And what I want to do is feel it drop in to that divot. And there it is. And then I'm also looking at my pencil marks to make sure they're lined up, which they are. So yeah, we're good there. So the chances of this thing ever coming loose now are pretty slim. And if I ever have to take it apart, I'll have to hit it with a little bit of heat, but that's not a big deal. All right, gas block and gas tube installed. Now the fun stuff.